So I think this one for everything I say, that's what my humble advice. Other customers, I understand. You and I have a different step. I hate to do this for you.
Assalamu
But
alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum, boys and girls. Welcome once again. It is Tuesday. It is Tuesday evening, 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock in Texas, because Texas has their own time zone. And we are here live once again. We are on the YouTubes and we are on the Tweeters and we are on Periscope and we are here to have some edutainment for you so that we can educate you and entertain you and we can talk about things that are going on in the world today and we can help explain how they can help you. And now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the hardest working Imam, Imam Azhar.
Assalamu alaikum, peace and greetings to all of our listeners tonight. Thank you for joining us a bit early tonight. As you know, with the time fluctuation of the prayers and how the night is falling sooner than we were accustomed to during the course of the summer, next week, inshallah, Allah willing, we will be back on a stable time schedule for all of you. But for those of you who kind of jumped on as soon as you saw the notification, we welcome all of you and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for actually attending tonight's short discussion. I found out from Carl tonight that this is episode number 99. And I told Carl that when we hit 99, we want to talk to our listeners and ask them to enlighten us how they would see episode 100 to be like. And although we have topics decided for tonight, we'll give some time to all three of these, the two topics that tied that Carl will let us know very soon. And also, how do we want to see episode 100 celebrated? I always believe that you all are an integral part. This is a session where you can chime in, call in, email, or send a message to us on Twitter and ask us questions pertaining to the show. But I envision to see the future shows after next week, inshallah, which will be 100, that it is controlled and it is directed and it is maneuvered through the next few episodes or next 100 episodes solely by our listeners, where not only are they selecting the topic, but they're presenting the questions. They are also bringing forth their predicaments in regards to those topics of discussion, so we can make it a more personalized show. So that's what I wanted to say tonight as we begin regarding our next week or our 100th episode. Please do tweet and tag Brother Carl and I explaining what you think hashtag Raw Islam with Imam Azhar should look like episode 100 forward. Without further ado, I want to give it back to Carl, and he's going to explain to us what the topics were for this week and what you, the listeners, selected. Carl?
Before we begin, as always, I always read our comments because that's part of the joy of being live is being able to interact with the comments from people. And I just want to say what's up to Sunshine. She is in the room this evening and she has already said hello. So hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're looking forward. I think the other thing I would add before I get too far in is I know somebody tweeted me, and I will go find it later, that they had sent me a DM about a show topic, and I was actually in my DMs today, and I didn't see it. So if you're listening this evening, if you could go ahead and shoot me that DM again, or DM it to VennNetwork, VennNetwork at VennNetwork, that would be awesome, and I will share that topic point with the imam so we can get it on the schedule. But enough of that. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, every Monday when I don't get lazy, we share a poll on Twitter for VennNetwork, VennNetwork. And every Monday you get 24 hours-ish to vote in this poll so you can share your thoughts on what we should be talking about. This week, the poll was posted, and our topics were California on fire again, and the truth shall set you free. What is a good leader? And I just want to give a shout out to Sunshine for correcting my spelling on that. And of course, the fourth topic, my personal favorite, what's the deal with? And the poll was posted, and you all voted. And the winner of the poll, as you can see on your screen, was a dead tie. And the truth shall set you free. And what is a good listener? And I'm sure all of you can imagine where all of those topics came from and what my motivation for those were. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you are following us on Twitter, VennNetwork, so that you can take part in the polls, so that you can share your thoughts and you can control the topics of the show. And with that, now that I've said what the topics were, I'm going to pass it back to Imam Azhar.
So, Carl, I think you and I need to have a discussion on this. The truth will set you free. What was your motive behind that? I'm still lost. Is it the Washington Nationals losing 3 games back to back, and the truth
Oh,
is that they'll lose the World Series tonight, or I don't know. I'm lost.
oh, oh, that's rough. You see
Washington,
people,
or
you
was
see
it
people.
that the president was in the game and everyone said lock him up? I don't know what was the truth.
That
You
was
tell
just
me.
entertaining. No, I think for me, my motivation behind the truth shall set you free was more based around the fact of everybody running around screaming fake news, and you see reports of people lying. Like, I mean, and it's blatant lies too. Like, you know, Trump will come out and he'll be like, "Yes, we've painted this room red," and you can clearly see the room he's standing in is blue, and it's like, bro, just tell the truth. That's all you have to do. And anybody that's been over to VennNetwork.org and has seen one of the videos that I posted a while back, which is just simply that we have video, we have receipts. You don't get to say something isn't what it is when we like the wasn't he, I don't think he's the press secretary, the cabinet or whatever he was or is,
Hmm. Hmm.
and he came out on stage and he went, yeah, there was quid pro quo, so what, get over it. And then he
Yeah.
left, and then like 6 hours later he put out a press statement and went, I never said that, that's not what happened. Bro, we have you on video, what's wrong with you? And that was kind of my motivation, because it's behind that entry in the poll was because it's like we all see this, why lying does not work, and it's just the way it is. And before I turn it back to you, yes, Sunshine, I did check my message requests. I didn't see it in there either, but Imam Azhar, as I turn this back to you, I just want to point out that Sunshine and myself are both from the DC area, and she would like to say, "Oh man, the series ain't over yet. Relax." And back to you.
Well, I was in Houston on Saturday for a couple hours. I flew in for a program, and in the airport, the tone was somber. The jerseys look like Oscar Mayer hot dogs, and I'm not a fan of Houston or the Washington Nationals, to tell the truth. I'm a Jays fan. I don't follow baseball, but as a Canadian by default, Blue Jays, even though they're not doing the best, as we know. But again, it's a very inspiring to see someone who was they were 2 games down and now they're 3 games up. Yes, the World Series is not over yet, but we'll find out in the next few hours. Going back to that, Carl, you know, the topics that we're touching, I'm hoping and I'm envisioning we're going to get into deeper topics. We're getting into topics that people may not be able to digest and stomach only because these topics need to be discussed. We're talking about someone out coming out and saying blatantly, yeah, it was quid pro quo, get over it, we're moving on. Uh, you see, the concept and understanding in our world is the truth can never hide. The truth will always come out even after due time. But just say we were to manipulate the truth. Just say we were to manipulate the truth and make false become the truth and make truth become false. If you look at the repetition of the Quran of commanding good and forbidding evil, this is not a Wahhabi mentality of saying, oh, that is haram and stop that, or, that is important and do that. No, it's about maintaining a bar that people, regardless of their faith, regardless of their culture, regardless of their race, regardless of their nationality, in any given era, they'll have the ability to understand what's right and what's wrong. That lying will be in the category of wrong, and telling the truth will be in the category of right. Being respectful, honorable, trustworthy will be right. Being disrespectful, dishonest, and untrustworthy will be wrong. This is kind of what the Quran is saying. Uphold those two categories. We fail to uphold those two categories as Muslims. And society today, what they're doing is there are people in society that are kind of twisting the two. And when you twist or you tie your shoelaces too many times, you don't know which thread to yank on, because it may be you yank on one thread and you'll make the knots more tighter. And that's exactly what's happening. Through this presidency, I promise you, there already was a crowd. There was already a crowd that blindly followed. And even our religion, people say you believe in the unseen. Yes, we do, but we don't blindly follow. Our spiritual instincts take us down that path, believing it leads to something good. There's no blindly following anywhere in life, but there are people who blindly follow the Trump rhetoric. I want to call it the Trump rhetoric. Matter of fact, in one of his recent um, rallies, he said the only thing Joe Biden was good for was kissing Obama's and the word of a donkey, right? And everyone cheered. Now, regardless if you like Biden or not, why would you say something like that? We lived in a time where people didn't curse or say wrong things openly. They would have enough shame in them not to say it because of the repercussions. A lady would say, son, wash your mouth with soap. A grandmother would take her cane and whack you on the head and say, how dare you say that in public? Where's that world gone? I'll tell you where it's gone. We are currently twisting. The truth and false is being twisted. And very soon, you will not know a lie from the truth and false from what is right. Believe me, it's coming. It's coming very fast. And 4 more years of President Trump's presidency will make that clear. And so, yes, speaking the truth will set you free. But how about if you manipulate the truth enough that the lie becomes the truth in your eyes? See, a person, when they're in that position, Carl, they can take a polygraph test and actually pass, because they have already indoctrinated themselves that the lie is the truth and the truth is a lie. What happened didn't happen, what didn't happen happened. Human beings, God created all of us. He knows we can be hacked, we can be manipulated, we can be twisted, we can be flipped. And that's why God gave religion, so we stay on our 2 feet, we're weighed down, and we trek the path of life. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So it should not surprise us anymore. Carl, how many times people said, oh, I thought that, that was like, there was nothing that's going to surprise me anymore. And oh, look what they just did, or look what they just said. What that's doing is, psychologically, it's chipping away on your conscience. It's literally creating a crater in your conscience. And while they're creating the crater, they're filling it up with falsehood. And so not only will you become numb, but you'll have no sense, you'll have no feeling, and you'll have no drive and motivation to correct it. It's like, if you believe it, it's good for you. Yeah, if Trump walks in and says this room is green and to me it's white, I'll be, yeah, it's green, who cares? And so the truth would have set you free if the truth was the truth. But at the end of the day, my fellow listeners, the truth no longer has value in our world. In that, for people who follow religion, and those who don't follow religion because they feel that the religion doesn't uphold things right, for both parties, this is a disaster. Carl?
So I'm just going to read one quick comment and then I'm going to throw it back to you because I have a question for you. But just to follow up on our earlier, Sunshine said that she's actually a Tigers fan, not a Nats fan. So, I mean, I guess we won't hold it against her. And I made my confession last week when I simply said that I'm just not that into baseball, but I accept that. Anyway, so my question for you then is, I mean, I get it, and I see what you're saying because, like, this entire administration started with this is the largest crowds ever for an inauguration, and they opened the administration with alternative facts, and so we were almost groomed to expect lies. But I think my question to you then becomes, so how do we get back to that? What do we do as a society? What steps do we take to get back to the point where we're not arguing if the dress is blue or gold, but we're simply just, I mean, it bugs me that there's so many videos, so many videotapes, so many video clips, and they cut back to people and they're like, no, that didn't happen. And it really bugs me because we have video. It happened. We're looking right at it. So, how do we get back to that point as a society where we accept what is what our eyes see? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So this is my point. I want to make it very clear to you here, Carl. The point is that you can't stop someone from lying. You can't. You really can't tell someone don't lie. But what you can do is tell the truth. So if they want to say a lie, for example, the crowd's inauguration were so big, you're like, no, they weren't. They were small. There's no need to have an argument. See, where the sane society is losing out is because they're trying to argue. They're trying to come to some consensus with a person who doesn't come to a consensus. He could say anything, and you're just gonna be baffled. And you're like, but you said that is no, it's a lie. You should have enough guts to say it's a lie. The room is white. End of story. We're not going to debate this. There's no debating the truth. The truth is the truth. You don't have to debate it. So if we're not going to speak what the truth is, then we're allowing one narrative to control. If one narrative controls, you've already given lie a pedestal, right? So you don't have to control it. You have to just say it. Sarah Sanders, whatever. Excuse me. Sorry, you're lying. Continue. Continue your press conference. You're lying. That's not the truth. When we speak like that, we'll uphold the truth. If someone comes up and says to me, this room is nice and blue, sorry, you're lying. It's white. Continue your discussion. Because these are facts that you cannot fight with an ignorant person. And look at this. Look at the hearing of Facebook on Capitol Hill. They are selling your information. They are allowing manipulation in your life. They know your wall and your feed is where you get all the information from. What you're seeing on your Facebook feed, some white supremacist is seeing the exact opposite of what he wants or she wants. So guess what? They are deliberately feeding lies to every person to create your own little silo. And you would believe everything you see and do. And that's the same that goes with Google, same thing goes with Yahoo. So the question now becomes that, are you going to trust these sources or are you going to trust each other? We're no longer mingling with each other, Carl. We're not talking with each other. We're not trying to understand beyond what is presented to us. So Baghdadi is killed. That's the seventh time, according to a news reporter, that that claim has been made, right? So how do we know what's the truth? Or how do we even care that this is a truth? No one asked the president, is it true? This story sounded worse than a fiction novel, an amateur fiction novel. They came, they didn't go through the door, they didn't go knock knock, and they blew up a wall, and then he blew up himself, and then they had to dig out the tunnel, and they got pieces of him. Like, We don't even know if it's the truth. But think about this: we don't even have the motivation to even ask. Could you show us some evidence? When Osama bin Laden was killed, like, could you show us some evidence? No, we just threw him into the sea. Like, people had some ability to ask. Now it's like, who cares? And this is the seventh time where we're being told Baghdadi's been killed. So when you allow falsehood to become the norm, you've allowed lies to become the truth, and that's where we're losing, Carl. Back to you.
So we have a question from online.
Mm-hmm.
Ariana would like to know if does the idea of not arguing with an ignorant person kind of go with the idea of picking your battles?
So I love that question. We're not going to argue with ignorant people. You shouldn't. It's something that's taught from our predecessors and our scholars in the Islamic faith also. Imam Shafi'i or Imam Malik, one of the great jurisprudence scholars of their time, said, one of the two of them said that if I was to debate with an ignorant person, I've lost. I've lost. And if I'm to debate with a knowledgeable person, I'm confident I'll win. I.e., they had confidence in what they knew, and thus they did accordingly. When it comes to an ignorant person, arguing doesn't mean you let them continue to uh, roll their mouth. It means that you can say respectfully and firmly, it's a lie. It's not true. The fact is this, and that's all I have to say. You have to say it. You have to articulate it. If you're in the subway and someone's like, "Oh, these immigrants are here taking," it's interesting. I saw a nice tweet today. Immigrants are taking over American jobs, or no, immigrants are taking over America's funds, like their social security and stuff. Then why does ICE always raid workplaces? If they're taking all your social security and your Medicaid and they're taking all of your food stamps, then why are they being arrested at workplaces? That's because they're working their butt off and they're working like every other person who wants to work in this country. No one's coming to America for a free ride. People are coming here to do that, but if someone's doing lip service and we all stay quiet, we're allowing someone to spike someone's emotion, and that person's emotion can result in a physical damage. They could hit someone. They could trip someone. They could do anything to anyone. So when you say "excuse me, be quiet," that's not true. And if the ignorant person goes on, the best thing to say is, "I'll talk to you when you show me the facts." And that's all you have to say. Show me the facts. And if they can't show you the facts, there's no need to have a discussion. And if they show you the facts and the facts are true, you've learned something. And we should be humble enough to say, "Wait, I didn't know, I was wrong, and I learned something." But if they're not factual and they're just like anything else, you know what? I'll tell you something, Carl. This is my personal belief, and I apologize if people don't accept this. What's happening in the Kurd area right now, in the Kurdish area, all those videos, I personally will say they're fake. I will say they're all fake. And it was already exposed that the Pentagon spent $500 billion making fake ISIS videos. That's known news. That's facts. So this whole thing about Kurd area and this ISIS people running free, if you're a prisoner, you wear the same type of clothing. They're all wearing different clothing, and none of them have beards, and they don't even look like they're ISIS, and they're running in different directions, and the door just opens up, and all the American military vehicles are leaving, and they're being pelted, and they show a kid who's got a chemical bomb reaction on him, and he's just standing there smiling. Then you stand him there crying. I'm sorry, you cannot even believe what you're seeing on videos nowadays or pictures until or unless you have harder proof. You cannot follow that because lies will come in the channel of what you perceive to be the truth. Just have to be very careful. That's all I'm saying. People need to be very careful because your eyes have been successfully manipulated, and so have your ears, and so have your minds. So until you personally don't experience that and understand the entirety of what that case is, I don't think it's wise to go down that road. And I'll end by saying this, Carl. I remember when the Syrian war thing started, and Anderson Cooper was in Damascus in the same market where they showed that there was some type of a scuffle that day, and there was an uproar and a protest. And Anderson Cooper's like, "We just got here. We're here tonight, and there's nothing happening here." I still remember that. And when you go back and you look at videos of different instances and different things that have happened, some things start to click. And the things that happen at that moment, you can't delete it, but then you can change a narrative as we move on. For example, I was watching a NASA video, and Carl, I'm sorry, I said this before, and I need to leave for an event, but I'll say this again. Lower Earth orbit. Could you tell me what that means? Lower Earth orbit.
No, I don't know what that means.
So basically, someone made a claim that NASA has still not penetrated lower Earth orbit. We're going to space, but we're still kind of like inside of Earth. We haven't penetrated that. And the person made this claim and then brought like 12, 15 videos of astronauts in space, Obama and different people saying in the next few years, we're going to bring about technology that we are going to penetrate lower Earth orbit, meaning we still haven't got to space. And when they talk about the moon and stuff, they say, okay, we had gone to the moon and that technology was then destroyed or it was burnt or it was lost and we're still trying to figure out how to get to the moon. So when astronauts are saying in these interviews and people are saying these things, notable people, people at the control centers of Cape Canaveral and Obama himself, they brought a whole bunch of videos and everyone said the same word, lower Earth orbit, meaning we are still within the Earth's round circle. We haven't gone past that. We're outside the upper layers, but we're still in the lower layers, which would allow us to penetrate into true space. Now that's baffling to me. But when I saw that and I heard that, who would question that? Because our minds are like, we're gone everywhere. Like we've gone to Saturn, our satellites are on Mars and stuff. But then what's the truth? So at the end of the day, don't worry yourself with all these things. What you say to yourself is, what I need to know, I need to work on that. What matters to me? Look, space doesn't matter to me, to be honest, right? Like I can't change anything space if I can't fix the air pollution on this earth. And if I don't fix the water pollution on this earth, I don't know what space is going to do for me. So what matters needs to be our priorities. What's our priorities needs to be what we engage and indulge in. And it has to start at a local level. We really need to make our neighborhoods, our cities and towns what they used to be: good, vibrant, productive, protected, prosperous communities. Carl?
Too many buttons and knobs. Okay, I have two things before I throw it back to you for final thought. Catching up on the comments here. Sunshine says sometimes it's about pointing out or adding the truth to the conversation, but sometimes there are many people that just won't accept that they accept the lies for what they are, and when you ask, sometimes you have to make them do the work to find the truth, to not only back up your to back up what they're saying, to back up their facts. And she says, but I guess sometimes I'm a little more confrontational than some people. But she's right that a lot of people don't do the research and they refuse to do the research, and it ends up hurting us, hurting the conversation in the long run. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes it's more difficult. I think the other thing I'm going to add, just because you touched on it and just because I finished it recently, and I don't mean to swear, I really don't, but it's legitimately the title of the book. So forgive me for what I'm about to say. And if you have children and you don't want them to hear bad words, cover their ears for a second. But if you really sincerely want to know what happened with the 2016 elections and you want to know Cambridge Analytica, Imam Azhar was talking earlier about the Facebook data and mining the data in your Facebook feed. If you really sincerely want a view behind the curtain, if you want to have your Wizard of Oz moment, there is a book out there called Mindfuck. Sorry, that's the title of the book. And it's written by the guy who actually wrote the algorithms to do the mining in 2016. And his description of what happened and his description of how he got there and the description of what was going on was mind blowing. and he lays out a lot of facts. And I actually finished it, and I'm probably going to give it a second read because it's mind blowing. And back to you for final thought.
In back in the days in Arabia, if there was an important message to convey to the people, there was a person who would run from the top of a mountain naked, and he would be screaming until everyone got his attention. In Arabic, it's called Nadirul Uryan, the naked warner. That meant something very important has to be said, and people would stop and listen to what this person was saying. It could be life and death. It could be that there's a asteroid coming to Earth, or there's an army coming to attack, whatever it was, right? The title of that book to me means exactly that. We're going to a position of desperation where people who really want us to not fall into the same trap, they're trying to use whatever way possible to draw our attention. All I want from humanity is that we don't become stupid, because truly we are. Let me give you one final example, and I'm late for my next event. There was a guy who has a video on Facebook, and I was watching it. He put a bunch of ducks, I believe, in this little cage, and he made this ramp for the rats and the mice to go up, little ducklings. And so they go up, they get on top of the cage, but they can't penetrate it. So they go down on this side to see if they could get in. But he's kind of covered it up with like a glass, and there's this big glass platform here. And so all the rats are coming up and down, but once they fall into that glass platform, they can't come up. Okay? So now the desperation is, I'm looking at that duck and I want to have some of that. And so they're communicating. One or two are going back. The rest of them keep on coming forward. You see them talking and communicating. One or two is saying, I don't think this is legit. And they're saying, oh, just shut up. Let us go. Let us go. Let us go. And when a certain amount of weight is put on that glass, it falls. When it falls, all of those rats or mice fall into a trap. They're done. They cannot come out. They're going to die in there. And what was the bait? Two little ducklings. And you still see a few kept on climbing despite the fall, and they went to look over, hey, what's happening down there? And they fell also. Our whole world is being sent on that same journey. And I'll end with a question tonight, Carl. When we were kids, we watched the Jetsons. Was the Jetsons telling us how we should aspire for a future? Or was the Jetsons telling us how the future will become for us? One way, it sounds very inspirational. One way, it's a locked in threat that robots will control, cars will fly. You live a life of full automatic, radioactive, self, a sense. There's no feelings, an emotionless life. Um, we're going there. And again, so long there are people who identify and become those mice and rats that go the other way, they'll be able to save the masses. If not, Carl, within the next 20, 30 years, we will be controlled by machines, the same machines that we're being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to introduce and invent and bring into the market. They will be controlling us. So again, was the Jetsons to tell us what kind of future to inspire for, or was it a blatant open threat telling us what the future will look like? That's my final words tonight. Back to you, Carl.
Skynet is real, man. Skynet is real. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of another episode of the Raw Islam podcast. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. If you head over to VennNetwork.org, you can find all the episodes, all the other shows on the network, and you can get yourself some cool swag to help support the network, support the hosts, and support the other shows. I want to thank everybody in the chat room this evening. I want to thank everybody that was watching. Really great conversation, really great turnout tonight. Thank you, everybody. And I know Imam Azhar has to go, so I'm going to cut that short. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we will say, Assalamu